Welcome, everyone, to the New Jersey Mycological Association Taxonomy Tuesday for June 3rd, 2025. I'm Lila, and we take turns sharing our recent fungal finds and talk about them and help each other identify them. If we don't know what they are, everyone is welcome, beginners and experts alike. So with that, if you have something that you would like to share, put your name in the chat and we will look at those. Some folks have also emailed some in that we can look at. But I'd like to start with anybody online here live that has something to share. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share?
I have a few we can start with.
All right, that's good, Brandon. Others of you, please put your name in the chat and we will circle back. So Brandon, go ahead.
All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, cool. You've seen this a couple times in the past few weeks, but it's always nice to find. I've been seeing them just pretty much everywhere. We've had a ton of rain. And late last week, I saw them, 4 or 5 times in a couple of days in different locations around town. But these were growing in pretty big clusters. There was a third and a fourth cluster not photographed. These were knocked over. I didn't really collect them. I think we all agree this is Lacrymaria, Lacrymarabunda, right?
I'd say so. Yeah, there's a couple other Lacrymarias, but I think they're smaller than these.
Nice, fresh and fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Did this used to be called Sowerbyella velutina?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I knew it was in Sowerbyella. I didn't know if it had a different species name or not.
You know what? I haven't seen any of these here in my area. We had a BioBlitz too in an area where there was a lawn and trails through open woods near the Susquehanna River, and nobody found any of these. And
that's interesting.
Seen them in my usual spots where I see them.
Yeah, because I found these just in the parking lot, pretty much in a field off of a parking lot. But I've seen them in the woods on the trail where there's like kind of a grassy trail going on.
Right. Yeah. That's
in there too.
Yeah, those are the spots I find them. The spot I most often see them is it's a few steps from a parking lot on a lawn. But I haven't seen them at all this year. It's kind of funny. Maybe you guys are ahead of us up here, though, so maybe I'll see them this week.
Yeah. And like I said,
I feel like I'm missing out. I've seen these so many times. They do have really cool spores, though, to scope.
And just real quick, another common thing, but we were talking about it last week. I think maybe Christopher or someone maybe showed a Mycena that we were thinking might be haematopus. And yeah, it's the bleeding Mycena.
So what did you just cut? Oh, there you go. It's just kind of cut open.
Yeah. And this photo doesn't really, it's tough to photograph the blood because it kind of becomes, I don't know, it kind of becomes clear quickly or absorbs back into it quickly. But you can easily like kind of squeeze droplets of red out of this. But even without doing that, I can identify this without having to cut it open because of these kind of pyramidal cap margin going on. And these were in perfect shape. So, those triangles were pretty clearly defined. But even when they're in rough shape, you can make those out pretty easily.
Yeah, that,
The Trumpet Museum.
Yeah, it's a pretty one. Dave, what were you going to say?
those are textbook on
Yeah.
wood. On wood.
Yep, that's what I was just going to say. So I did check, and it's tough to make out, but I'm pinching the branch. If you can kind of see that, my fingers are pinching the branch, and I lifted
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah, I've never seen these other than on wood.
Yep. And these do have the fuzzy feet. Tough to make it out on this photo, but they do have some like mycelium at the base. But yeah, pretty textbook and a really pretty mushroom, no matter how many times you see it. All right, and then for some stuff that I don't know, I use this name Plueroflammula because I'm not quite sure what this thing is, and I'm not quite sure what Plueroflammula is. But this is some kind of Pholiota type thing, also grown on wood, and it had these really cool. This isn't the best photograph of the margin. It's almost, I guess you would call that appendiculate.
Yeah.
It looks like it's from a veil. So, yeah, I think that's one of the qualifications. I wonder if this is flammulaster.
Yeah, it could be.
Young ones, that are not where the spores are immature, so the gills are not dark.
Is that one making the full turn?
Yeah. Yep. So it was grown on the underside. Is that what you mean? And
Yeah, like that in itself is a very Pholiota thing, right?
Yep. So this was growing almost directly in the center of the underside of a branch, and the stem is much larger than this cap. It's a stretching stem, and it geo orients itself back level to drop spores down. But yeah, good call. I did get spores out of it on a spore drop. Tough to make it out because I only collected one and they were pretty small. So I just did it right on a slide, which isn't great to get the true color of the spores, but I think you can make out that they're at least not white. They were brown, rusty brown. And these are Pholiota-esque spores, in my opinion. They don't have the deep germ pore like some do. But the cool thing about these, I took a lot of spore pictures. They have these really cool subcapitate cystidia here. And if you're wondering why this is so dirty, the micro, that's all bacteria. So that was like dancing around the screen. It's always fun to find when you're scoping some gill material. But yeah, you can see this pretty tall cystidium with subglobose, capitate, subcapitate apex. And they were tough to photograph because of all the bacteria that was dancing around. But I was able to observe plenty of these. This one's super out of focus, but I think you can kind of get the idea of what's going on there. This one doesn't have as skinny of isn't long and skinny like the other one was with the subcapitate apex. This one has more of like a sorry piece shape to it. But when reading about the genus Plueroflammula, and there's a couple species that don't quite look right for this thing. There's also a couple Pholiotas that, I don't know, don't quite look right for this thing. But when reading about Plueroflammula, the cystidia was pretty unique there, with some of them being that kind of long and skinny head on a stick kind of thing.
Do you have a? Could we see a close up of the cap surface?
So, yeah, it's not ornamented as much as you would think.
No, it's not. So it's not Flammulus or Arenacilus.
Yeah, or some other Pholiota type things. Like there's a Pholiota subsulphureus, I think it is, and these seem too small and not quite ornamented enough. Yeah, you can see on the cap there, it's pretty smooth. There are a little bit of feathering going on, but not as ornamented as Flammulaster, I would think.
Yeah, the reason why I suggested Flammulaster is the appendiculate margin.
Yep.
But yeah, the cap's not. The stem's a little bit grainy looking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are other Flammulaster species besides Arenacilus or Arenacilla. I can never figure out how to end the names. But those are mainly really small mushrooms.
Okay.
The other Flammulaster species they're very small.
All right. I'll check out some Flammulaster.
Yeah, there's like Carpophilus, I think is one of them, and I think there's one Rhombosporus. I get some in my yard, and I'm not even sure what the species. Oh, I have them sequenced. Right. I think Steve Russell put a coded name on them.
I love the descriptive term of the board game. Sorry.
Yeah, if anyone's ever played that game, the Sorry piece has a pretty unique shape to it.
Unique. There it is.
And in case I skipped over it, I think I did. They do have, kind of wispy rings going on, even on the young one here. But cool. And this, I'm not 100% sure on, only because I had just applied bug spray. Why can't I click on this? And all I could smell when I was going to smell it was bug spray. And this is supposed to have a really garlicky smell, so I wasn't able to pick up on pretty much the way you identify this thing, in my opinion. Also, the ecology doesn't quite fit. It's supposed to grow on twigs. I guess there could be some berry twigs in there, but this is Mycetinis scorodonius. At least that's what
I think also conifer needles. You can find this on where the ground's covered with conifer needles. I found them last week, and they really smelled like garlic. It was pretty strong.
Yeah, and I didn't do the best photography job with these things. But what do you think, just visually, on first impressions?
Yeah, that looks like them.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But then when I was kind of reading about them, I'm like, a couple things don't fit. Especially, I was trying to get that garlicky smell, but like I said, all I was getting was bug spray.
That's a cool mushroom. It's so pretty.
Yeah, really pretty. You can see this one's got a nice puddle of water. This is the one I collected, and I could pour some water out the cap.
Yay.
Cool. I think that'll do it for me. Actually, let's look
at that one. Yeah, that mossy mace.
Yeah, only because we were talking about that thing that we were thinking might be Trematopsis cervina last week. And it's always good to kind of review this.
What happened to the photo?
Why this isn't loading up for me?
Here it comes.
There we go. So you can see different than the thing we looked at last week. The pore surface, at least. Similar, though, the edges were quite orange. But you can see the moss or algae associate going to town on this thing. I think the young ones have more of a maze structure to them than the older ones. But again, this could be. I think this is Cerrena unicolor. What do you guys think?
Looks like what I'd call Cerrena unicolor. The bottom, the undersides, have that. It's not quite diatelloid, but the pores are kind of irregular and going every which way, and walls break apart. And they don't. The walls don't elongate quite as much, I'd say, as what is it, Trematopsis? What's the name? What's that species?
Fina.
Cervina or Cervinus.
Yeah, I think the walls get really long on those.
Yeah.
I would agree this is Cerrena unicolor, whatever. And I would have said that the moss on top is on top of last year's growth. This grows out again a second year.
Yeah, and that's probably what we're looking at with the kind of
Yeah,
orange. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it usually looks like up here where I am.
Yeah, and it has an interesting. I mean, there are a lot of lobate things that grow in this structure, but this creates really interesting, not necessarily all facing the same direction when they kind of grow on top of each other, the lobes of this thing. So you can kind of find interesting structures of them with last year's growth and New Year's growth, like this one on the right here.
Yeah, it's like
Cool.
petals almost. It's pretty.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
So,
good
so
way.
those are perennial species, the fruit bodies.
It appears that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
I think they persist a couple of years and grow. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say at least 2 years, maybe 3, but no more than that.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
okay.
also depends on how much they have to feed on in the log. It has to contain whatever it is they like to decay.
Yeah, I guess they are, right? And I think what ends up happening, like a lot of this is fresh, but I think a lot of the old stuff kind of dies and kind of remains in situs and overwinters for a while. But there's like fresh growth patches kind of like that come off of it
Well, but
after that.
it's growing from the older fruiting bodies.
Right. Yeah.
Do these ever grow in a upright habit, like on a dead or dying tree, as opposed to on a downed log?
Good question, but I would have said that it has to be a fairly decayed log already or already dead, pretty much. Also, I can't remember. I think it's deciduous, the wood.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever found it on, even a freshly down log, from like a deadfall or something, a dead tree that came down. Like it's always something pretty well decayed. Yeah.
Are those pine needles though?
No, it's some kind of. You're talking about this stuff.
Yeah, no, so it's not. Okay.
No, it's like the grasses or something. I don't know, but no, not pine.
Nice.
That'll do it for me. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so good to review those.
All right. Christopher, you indicated you had some, so why don't you go next?
Oh, man. This, all right, here we go. So I was in my my personal wheat field here in my yard, and I have a smut growing on it, which is real weird. It when I brought it in the house to do some micro on it, it gets all over the place very quickly. Like Brandon was saying with his rust, you just tap it and it's everywhere. And it has plenty of these little globospores. They kind of, I don't know, they kind of have that little like dinosaur egg texture. But they are apparently spread by the seed. So they'll get on the seed. And then I guess the way I get it is that I put down infected seed, which I was reading a thing on it, and they said if you get like 1% of it in your field, it'll contaminate 10%, and it can get out of hand. So I guess it can be problematic, but they'll usually like treat the seed with fungicide or something before they put it out, and that I guess helps keep it in check. But I was excited to have fungus in my little wheat field here.
So
Are you planning to harvest your wheat and make some bread, or?
You know what? By looking at it, I mean, like, I'll be lucky, I think, if I get like a couple muffins or something.
Yeah.
It's maybe I'm doing it wrong, but maybe I'm just not that good at growing wheat yet. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be for as much as I have to putting off as much as I thought it might. I don't know. I have to. Maybe I'll show you guys after harvest what fills a bowl.
All right. Well, interesting experiment.
Yeah. Sorry it's there, but cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
and how do you the spores were indicative of that genus, basically?
Yeah, there's yeah, I saw some drawings of another like structure maybe that the spores grow on, and I'm not entirely sure. I have a couple more pieces of it out there, and I'm trying to like see what they do. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they'll get more mature or something. And it looks like somebody drew like pictures of a structure that the spores form on, but I didn't see anything like that while I was doing it. Like I said, like as soon as you touch it, it kind of just like powder everywhere. Like what's that one slime mold? The one that's like the long chocolate tube slime, they call it, the common name. Like as soon as you touch those, it's just spores everywhere.
Stemonitis.
Demonitis. This was in between my parents' house and their neighbor's house. There was a whole mess of these in basically every stage conceivable, which is cool to see. They had there used to be I think it was an ash tree that was in this spot. Now there's like a decorative bush just to the right of this photo. There it is. There used to be an ash tree right here. I don't know if that's something, maybe it's just feeding on roots. The tree hasn't been there in a while. But just little oval spores. I don't know if you could see the Mycetinia had like, they were very round on top with just kind of like sticks. That didn't come out very good.
Are you sure that you scoped Basidia? Because Candylomyces candelianus, which probably is what this is, has, yeah, those look like, oh no, that looks like a Basidium. Yeah, you can see the
You see how
scarred
bulbous
knot
it is
it.
on top?
Yeah. It looks like a Chylocystidium actually, but it's got
Stigmata.
stigmata on it. So,
And
because
then I
that species
just,
has a lot of Chylocystidia. It's got the edge of the gill has like a dense palisade of Chylocystidia.
I waited too long to get it. This thing, it started to dry up by the time I got to doing this. And it had
Yeah, I'm not sure what effect that has on some or all of the micro features, but I always try to work with fresh material because I find it just easier to work with.
yeah, so do I. It just drives me nuts working with anything dry.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it.
You can get really thin pieces of material from dried material, in my opinion. You know, if you're looking to do a proper scope of the edge of the gill, a piece of tweezers on dried material can get you a really good tiny piece of gill.
I've actually been drying material so I can like try different things because I'm pretty sure I'm just bad at it.
Is there an old name for this?
This is what the AI gave me. I know
Sathurella
fancy.
candelianus.
Yeah, probably Sathurella.
Yeah. Or Candeliana. I could never keep straight when the ending is a yes and when it's the A.
The S is masculine, the A is feminine.
Yeah, I know. Except for
Yeah.
a few
So
of them.
this is Calendomyces
Candelianus. But I think when it
candelianus,
was
right.
Sathurella, it
And
was
Sathurella
Candeliana.
candeliana.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, okay.
And Lexinum is a neuter, anything ending with UM. So.
And
then
we all agree on Candylomyces candelianus on that one.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thanks.
really, really common this time of the year. I've seen it I don't know how many times already.
I just thought it was cool seeing them in like I said, like every different stage from like tiny ones all the way to burnt up.
Yeah, that was
See, Dave,
great.
it's sorry, Hunter, go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, Dave, it's funny. I haven't seen any of these this year.
Oh, you saw
So-
none of those, but you see Lacrymaria. That's funny. It's the opposite
Yeah.
for me.
I didn't see
Funny.
any of it, but
I wonder if
maybe
those like compete because they grow in similar habitat.
well, Candoli, that one is
I don't
comes out
find them in
sooner.
the same places though, come to think of it.
Do
I
they come
haven't
out
seen
sooner
it.
though?
I find my
Then Lacrymaria?
Lacrymaria in the exact same spot every year, like clockwork.
Hmm.
And there's almost nothing else there except later in the year there will be a couple of oh man, I forget. I'm forgetting what they call the little antler things. But those Lacrymaria, they pop up in the same spot every year.
Xylaria?
Dilarias. Yeah. Yeah, it's right next to a little sidewalk that connects two neighborhoods. This was in right at the end of the parking lot at Alair State Park, over by where the train is. And there was a whole mess of them all in one spot,
I
just
love
popping up out of. Just bunches of them. I've never seen one of these in person. That one had that good shape to it that you find pictures of. That's a
Are these what are we looking at? Helvellas?
yes.
Did you say
I
Chris?
think so.
Crispa.
I think so. That's all I came up with.
Or something close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look strangely a little bit different. Like, I don't know, not as. Is the stalk fluted?
Yeah, can we look
Yeah.
at that first one again?
Go with 21st century news for 600.
That is an eyeball-looking
Oh,
spore.
yeah, there we go. Yep. Yeah, that's probably what it is then. These are young ones, and they probably will expand a little bit. And
They were starting to dry up.
oh,
Like I said, they're
interesting.
right at the end of a parking lot. So they are fresh, but it's in a terrible spot.
Getting baked by the sun, maybe?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're not gonna I can't even believe that I was just there while they were there. They probably, they were there because it had rained. This was right after Maricel's thing. We went right out to a lair. All the I kept counting 8 little dots. I don't know if that means anything. I couldn't find anything on that.
Nice.
I think the
Great
majority of ascomycetes that form, notable fruit bodies have asci that with 8 spores in them. I mean, not all of them, but most.
But they were cool looking. That was a cool find.
Nice, yeah.
Oh yeah, real
Very.
nice.
And so many of them too, a lot of them in one spot.
Yeah. Oh, that whole spot was maybe 5 foot by 5 foot, and there must have been 15 of them there.
Cool. All right. So let me go back to the chat. Does anybody else have some that they want to share live here?
I could do some. It's Paul here.
All right, great. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, bear with me. A little mild panic while I relearn how to share. I forget every time. You see that by any chance?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. How do I do this?
Sometimes you have to hit share again.
Okay, thank you. Help me out there.
There, something's
right.
starting. There we go.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. Well, to continue with the Helvella, this is actually a few weeks ago, and this is a first time find for me. I recognize it just from the books, and this is in Washington D.C. This is in Rock Creek Park, and these were in a fairly large group as well, along the trail, right next to the trail. There's this picture. I only have a few photos. There's this picture, and then this is actually a different one, but from right next to it. Really long stem. This was after the sort of the first rain we've had a few weeks back here. Pretty heavy rain, so it's very spattered with forest debris. And it had I guess it had that grayish top like the first photo, but it was just completely full of debris and such. And again, I don't know Helvella really, and any I didn't do any micro on this. Again, it was just completely full of debris, and I didn't feel like really dealing with that. But
Did they all look like this?
they all had relatively long stems. I mean, or like obviously this one's shorter here, but maybe this is maybe a better example to look at here. But
Well,
yeah,
I would have said by that photo that it might be Helvella acetabula, but the long stem doesn't fit
I
from
see.
what I know.
I've seen
Somebody,
that. Oh, never mind. Actually, that's a different one.
I would think that longitudinally grooved stem, the lower part, is not going to match up with at least a few of these stipate Helvella cups. So that might be the trait that lets you pin this one down.
What are you saying then? As far as the
Okay,
stipe then?
show the other photo.
Yeah. Okay, this one here.
Yeah, look at the bottom of the stem. It's got these deep longitudinal grooves that they run like parallel
Yes.
to the length of the stem, and
So-
that's an unusual trait.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay. What is it? Acetabulum? Is that the one you suggested?
yeah, it is. I'm not sure how to spell it. Igor would probably know how to spell it.
That does that as well. I mean,
Well, yeah, but it's usually a shorter stem and it vases out more.
yep.
It kind of goes wide up into the cup kind of thing.
I'm looking at a couple examples on Myco Quebec that do not look dissimilar from this, what we're looking at. So
Okay, acetabulum.
Is that what they
Yeah.
call it?
Helvella, Acetabulum, acetabulum. If that's the same thing you were talking about. I'm completely unfamiliar with these things, so
I'm looking at that too on Myco Quebec, and those things have sort of this short stalk that flares out toward the top, and like is almost like a cup. The cap is like a cup in somebody's hand, sort of.
Yeah.
With their fingers spread around, and this thing has a really thin stipe, and it's pretty long. Like I guess it was Virginia was saying a few minutes ago, or was that Susan? I'm not sure.
Susan.
It was Susan. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it seems that doesn't seem to fit.
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning it too. And
That's
yet the one
interesting.
picture on the, oh, yeah, it does look like it might be Quebec website. Oh, Mushroom Expert.
I
Has
found
a-
it once and it did not look like this at all. I mean, I at least labeled something acetabulum, and I can put a picture in the chat what it looked like. But I would say definitely not like this. I'm gonna copy and put it in. A much less substantial stem with the acetabulum, like almost almost the stem and cap or one thing. Which is sort of what they are, but I'll get a picture in the chat, but and I could be wrong too, but I'm wondering if it could be something else too.
yeah, and I only kind of brought that up. Like I said, I don't know these things well. But Helvella crispa, you know what I mean? It doesn't. Would you say that cap looks like a crispa cap? The inverted cap?
No.
Could it be like torn open a bit?
What about that Macrocystidia one?
Those are really small.
Yeah, yeah, right. So no way. Okay.
Yeah, Macropus just has a cylindrical stalk that doesn't have like grooves in it.
Okay.
I think it might be a little hairier. I'm not sure if it's smooth or velvety. But most of them are like that. You know, this one's pretty unusual.
Okay.
You know, except for
Yeah.
that acetabulium or whatever. That one's really different. But it's
I used to find the acetabulum. In fact, I was looking for it today because it is the right time of year. And I just found my picture of it from a few years ago, and again, it's a much shorter veined kind of stem and cap. Somebody mentioned Helvella macropus. That's a lot smaller, but also it's a more regular round cup on a usually fairly smooth stem, if I remember right.
Right.
yeah. The stem is just cylindrical. It's not like irregular like this thing.
No, right. Somebody used to study the Helvella a lot. Who was that? Elsa Valinka?
Yeah, I can't remember.
And
Paul,
just
did you save
just
this?
add
No, I did not.
Okay.
I think Dave, well, we've all been mentioning, like when we're talking about the fluted, irregular stem on these things, that's an easy way to kind of separate them. There's another thing I was just looking at that I don't think is this, but it looks like the only other species that has that, fluted, pitted, whatever you want to call that, vertically slotted stem,
Right.
and that's Costifera. I don't think that's what this is, but of all the species that seem to have that slotted stem, I think we just talked about all of them.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is good stuff for me. Yeah, now I know a little more what to pay attention to, and perhaps maybe I wasn't even supposed to pick that. I was sort of they have a no pick in this park, but this one was on its way out here. I decided to take it, but all right. Well, that's good good information to think about next time if I ever find something like this again.
We all agree that of the genus Helvella, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Something
what
else?
else? Like gyromitra, or I don't know what else it could be.
It's not a gyromitra.
Yeah.
There is one species that it used to be in Gyromitra. I don't know. It's probably been moved, but it was like a stocked cup that's similar to this Acidavadium thing.
Infula.
Oh no,
I'm gonna look on Michael.
Disco something or other.
Well, let me just go to something else here.
I hope you'll get to that Gymnopus alkalivirens at some point.
Oh, okay, yeah. I also have a bison one here. I was in Montana last week.
Nice.
Yeah, well, let's look at this one here. This is something again new for me. This is in the hardwood forest here where I walk, and a lot of Gymnopus. It's a Dryophilus all over. So I wasn't exactly sure what this was, growing straight out of moss like this. So I really wasn't sure what it was until I got home with it and took a little further. But I think I can see this sort of Gymnopus sort of trait. I think where that kind of gets a little fatter as it approaches to the underside there. It sort of reminds me of some of the other ones. Obviously, the very dark stipe, and did I say this had a? I guess it would have but is that a white spore print, right? Is that what I said? Must,
That should be at
Yeah,
least
white spore
at
print.
least really pale, probably white.
Yeah, right, yeah. Back to that. Yeah, again, growing out of moss. Here's some spores, sort of tear shaped, I think. And about 7 by 3.5, roughly, which I think fell right into place there. And I think this is the sort of parlor trick here with the KOH on the cap here, giving you the greenish.
Great observation.
Yeah,
And,
I think you
some
nailed it.
hygrophins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what that is. Nice.
So yeah,
that's a new one for me. A little
That's
unexpected to see the white spore
That's a
print.
pretty cool find. I don't know.
Okay.
I've never found it. I've been looking for it for a while. I don't know how often you guys find this thing.
I think I found it today for the first time, so
What? Really?
no
Oh,
expert
that's
here.
cool.
What state are you in?
I'm in Maryland. This is
Okay,
in
okay,
Baltimore County.
okay, that's what I thought.
So I think that's maybe all to see there. Maybe I'll do one more. I imagine people have a lot of stuff to go. Where am I? Wait a minute. Boy. Okay, here I am. Maybe one other one here. This one in my yard. Macrocystidia, which I found last year, but didn't have a microscope last year. I'm pretty new with the microscope and really have only been doing spore examinations, from spore prints and spore drop. But this one has, I guess as the name implies, a very large cystidia on just about every surface, the stipe and the pileus and the gills, of course. So again, it comes up in a sort of, I have a chip. What I got or the previous owner of this house had what they call a chip drop, where they give you 10 yards of shredded or wood chips, and this is about, I guess, 3 years after the fact that these types of things are popping up in there. And then here's this is with my at 30 power with the my like dissecting type scope and a top lit here. And I think that's what we're seeing here on the gill edges, if I'm not mistaken, of these cystidia. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
Cystidia.
It's a nice photo.
Yeah. Are the gills free of the stalk?
Oh gosh, did I get a good picture of that or not? Yeah, I don't know if this is going to show real well. It sort of looks a little tight down there. I can't really tell. I didn't really.
It looks like they are. Look at the one on the right, in the mushroom on the lower left. There's a gill on the right. The other mushroom on the yeah. There's no, not that one in the upper right. The mushroom in the lower left, but the gill is in the right side of that mushroom on the lower left. There's a gill that looks like it's rounded before meeting the stipe, and it doesn't look like it's attached. So, do you get a spore print for these?
Yeah, I have some spore pictures. Yeah.
That'll
and
be
that's
helpful.
coming up here.
Oh, those are the actual spores. Oh, that's interesting. I was going to suggest Pluteus, but those don't look like Pluteus spores.
Maybe not.
Oh God, what is it? I remember a long time ago finding these spores that look like Band-Aids. And I forget what the species was.
But they have a lot of them, as some of them, if they're turned the right way, they have that curve to one side.
Yeah. But it did have that sort of a, I don't know, it didn't exactly smell like a cucumber to me, but it was sort of a clean smell like that. But then again, my sense of smell is not to be trusted necessarily.
There is this thing. I'm going to look it up. Used to be in Gymnopus, but I think it's like in a very small genus now. Cucumbus, I think.
The Macrocystidia cucumis.
Macrocystidia cucumbus. Right.
Yeah, that's what I think this is. And this is a shot of what I think these cystidia, which look sort of like mountain peaks here.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
That's from
I
the
think
gill?
No, this I believe is from the Pileus. I think I had to take so many different samples from different areas, and I finally got something that looked pretty good. And I believe kind of lost track after a while, and I believe this is from the cap the cap surface there. So,
That might be like bundles of hairs or something.
Yeah, the stuff on that gill edge looked like it had different, because I could zoom in a bit on my phone from that. Yeah, that one. I don't know, maybe.
But,
Well, he
yeah,
was
that's
saying
what I.
he was saying the cystidia was from the cap. Not
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
not the
So that's what I think it is. And
I'm just looking on Mushroom Expert. They have some Pileocystidia on there. Unicolor. They don't look dissimilar. They don't look as wide at the base. They look massive like yours.
Yeah, I think I looked at those pictures as well. But yeah.
The one thing I'll say, the Q ratio seems off for the spores. So they reported 7 to 9 by 3 to 4.5. So they should be twice as long as they are wide.
Well, that's what I've got, 9 by 4.5.
Yeah.
You got a Q2 in there, yeah.
2. So the sample of 10.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going off that first shot where they just seemed more kind of elongated, but yeah, that fits.
So anyway,
Nice job.
well, thanks very much. Thanks very much. I think I'll probably just maybe stop there.
Do one more. Do one more.
Okay. Okay. This one here, this is the last one, latest one I found right next to it's in the grass right next to the street, right where I parked my car. Looks like this fiber cap, Inocybe type thing. The spores, I've got some spore photos, which I think will bear out this family anyway. Don't know too much about this, but made my day when I saw these spores, because I wasn't quite expecting that. I was seeing all these sort of rugby shaped and bean shaped spores, and so this was like I say, it really made my day when I saw those.
I think that tells you it's a true Inocybe when you have the nodulous spores.
So genus Inocybe?
Genus Inocybe. Now, one thing you can check to see if it's genus Inocybe is just do a smash mount. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, doesn't Pseudosperma ramosum also have nodular spores?
Oh, maybe it does. Let me check.
Okay, so Pseudosperma is another possibility.
Yeah, smash mount some gill and see if you can find thick-walled cystidia, Plueroflammula, with ornamentation on the apex. They're pretty easy to find, really, on the Inocybe. There's a lot of them, and they're big.
So okay, so I'll take some gill, because there's one out there out front right now. So I'll take some gill and And the face of the gill that I'm looking for, or
Just take a yeah, the face of the gill is where the Plueroflammula are.
okay.
And pseudosperma, I'm going to look that up, the pseudosperma remosum. That would be a surprise to me. I thought all the ones with nodulospores were Inocybe.
Yeah, real the stipe's very dense and yeah, it's,
Robust, yeah.
yeah, robust stipe there. So
Nice observations,
well,
yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, well, I will yeah, I'm gonna go out and get some of
Michael
that.
Quebec says that pseudosperma remosum has bean-shaped spores.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, ellipsoid to bean shape.
Oh,
So
Nice.
I think this is a true Inocybe.
Cool.
cool.
Thanks for
All
looking
right,
that
very
up, Dave.
yeah, thank you very much. That's great. Okay. Well, I think, like I say, I think I'll give it up now. And we stop. How do we stop? Oh, right there. Stop sharing. All right. Well, again, thanks for hosting, Lila, by the way.
Sure, yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, everybody. This is great. We're getting more people sharing, which is wonderful. So, one more call for anybody live, and then I'll go to the email. Anybody got anything more?
Hey, Lila, it's Bianca. I'm actually walking now, and I found a couple just right now.
Okay.
Let me see if I can figure out how to share this. I took pictures, but I also have in hand, so I don't know how to do this. So let me see if I can.
Pictures are probably easier.
Okay.
I know when I do mine on my phone, I can when the camera is on, I could do the camera flip thing like you do.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can you see that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a bolete. Let me see if I can. Oh, no, it's only letting me show the one picture at a time. That's really frustrating. 1 second.
A pretty good size, 3-4 inches anyway.
Probably felleus.
What about ready bowl?
Oh, yeah.
Felleus. Yeah, it's Felleus.
It's felleus. I've seen a lot of these things yesterday at Brandenburg. They were just lined up on that road. Bitter as hell.
But
Yeah.
it's still a cool mushroom, Igor.
It
Well, I love it, you know.
is.
Nice to have a familiar friend.
That's probably the first bolete I've ever eaten. Nah, probably I was like 2 years old.
And you're saying it's bitter, and I shouldn't take it home.
Well, unless you
Oh.
cannot taste bitterness, in that case, you know, you'll probably find it very appealing.
No,
That's
I have very high sensitivity to bitter, so no, I'm good.
Yeah, but that's a very good identification feature if you have any doubt.
Yeah.
Is to just nip the edge and then chew on it and then be prepared. Keep it on the end of your tongue and then be prepared to spit it out.
One of the easiest
Sure.
Tylopilus to ID, you know, reticulated stipe, conifer woods. Netted, bitter taste and all brown.
Slightly pink pore surface.
Yeah, when it matures, found only under conifers, sometimes growing from stumps or roots of trees or even trunks.
Yeah, often
Yeah,
curved club-shaped stalk.
it was definitely growing on a dead branch on the ground.
Probably through a dead branch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Nice.
Some people eat that thing, you know.
There's another one I found recently.
Amanita.
It's not Flavoconia, it's the other one, right?
It's chrysoblema.
Oh.
It's probably the our North American flag agaric by the looks of it.
Yeah, can we see a close up on the cap? Let me see what UV remnants look like.
I've seen them too. So anything that's conifer associate is coming out now after the rains.
There were a bunch of older ones that it was growing around. So I don't, you could see the older, I don't know if you could see me zooming in. So I'm assuming you're correct with the flag, Eric.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I think so. Look at there's a lot of smallish warts.
Yeah, it
on
would
the
be
cap.
nice to see the stipe base, but I think you can see the maybe some of the concentric rings there at the base, right
Yeah,
above the
was
ball.
one.
There was a very old one that was pulled out with the base, with the bulb. I tried to get down to the bulb, but it pulled out
Yeah.
before I could.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you can see it. That's good.
Yeah, the rings. Yeah, that's
That's a good job of harvesting. Yeah, you see the
Muscaria variety Soe or Crysoblema as we'll call it now. Yep.
Where do you see the concentric rings? What do you mean?
Right above the bulb. You know, there are these
There's like 3.
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
ragged material going around the upper part of the bulb.
that's the
Sometimes
vulva.
there'll be 2 or 3 of those. And it looks like
Oh.
higher up on the stipe, there's actually a little thin ring as well.
Yep.
Probably from the UV.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. That was good there, that close up. You can see them. There were like 3 of them.
Oh, you can see when I zoom in. That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to the other one that you wanted me to zoom in on. Where is that? Here. That's the fresher one. The rest were older.
Yep. That's it. You know, yellow to orangish cap. Sometimes they can be all orange, but not often. Typically, they're just pure yellow, dark yellow.
Oh, I
Yep.
see right on top of the cap.
Yeah, the disc.
The
The disc
warts.
is
You
orange.
see the warts. Sometimes they get washed off, especially in a lot of rain.
No striations, which is typical for the species.
Especially when it's not expanded.
Okay.
Hot off your phone.
Yes, hot off the press. And then this guy, which I just found a moment ago. And
That Neofavolus.
Yep, Neofavolus.
Or is it? Does it have a black foot on the other side?
Or maybe it's
no.
maybe it's Polyporus.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does it have
That's Neofavolus.
oh, that's Neofavolus. See, the pores are big enough you can see them really easily, and they're kind of stretched.
Hexagonal.
Hexagonal.
Yeah, hexagonal or diamond. Sometimes they're like diamonds, and sometimes a vertex on top and a vertex on the bottom elongates into 2 extra sides, and then instead of a diamond, you get hexagon. That's what it is, though. Yeah, there's 2 species, at least 2 species that are named.
There's Americanus, alveolaris, and that cryptic thing that has a code.
Oh, there's another coded one. Okay.
Yeah. Which is very pale. I think this one has some color in it.
Yeah, and that can be tricky because the color washes out on the orange ones.
Yeah, when they get old. Yeah.
Not always, though.
Sometimes they stay orange.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a lot dried out today in the woods that were still orange, and then I saw a few that were white. So I think there are a couple species.
And here's one that I'm literally standing in front of. If it lets me, hold on. Photo. Here we go. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So- Hygrosponus.
Need an underside. Might
You
be
got it.
Calernomyces. Maybe. No, it's that.
Pretty.
I think that's a Cetharella. Is the stem fragile? Or
No, it doesn't feel particularly. It actually feels hollow.
oh, okay. So maybe it's not Cetharella.
I mean, I have it in hand. What would you like me to take a picture of?
Do a spore print.
Yeah, okay. On my hand, I'll do that right now.
Yeah.
Just stand there with it on your hand, and we'll check back with you in a half an hour.
Yeah.
No, we'll wait. We'll wait.
We got other stuff to look at. We can circle back.
All right, circle back to me. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, great. Thanks, Bianca. All right.
Thanks, Lon.
Sure. All right. So I think we'll go to the email now, and we'll go in order. Let me try to share here. Find the right thing. All right. Share. Okay. Did I share the right screen?
Oh, before I forget, can someone put the 4 different species names in the chat so I can get them later? Because I can't write them down right now.
Well, that fourth one, I think we don't know.
All right. Are people seeing Dave's Sowerbyella?
Yes, I found it last year also in an area on our property where I pile raked leaves. So it's mainly raked maple leaves. There's other kinds of trees also. But I didn't realize Karen's once in a while she dumps wood ash there from our wood burner in the winter. And so maybe that had something to do with this species being there. Because I think she only started dumping wood ash in that area, like not this past winter, but the winter before. And this is when they first showed up, was last spring, 2024, and now they're back. So I've had these sequenced, and I also did micro on these, and they don't fit anything in that I can find in the literature. And the DNA matched a newly documented species from France. It was the best match. Sowerbyella, Montana, maybe something like that. It was a 93% identity match. So it's pretty clearly not the same species as that. And that was the best match. So this appears to be an undocumented species that we're calling Sowerbyella species PA01. So I got a really nice fruiting going this year. I made 3 separate collections of these. And if you can zoom in on the spore photo, I don't know how much it's going to zoom because I cropped it. That's the one that's, this is mounted in Congo red. And the Congo red seems to be a good medium for this. There are 2 gutules, oil drops in each spore, one at near each pole. And in the Congo red, you can see that pretty clearly, although it's not really working because the photo's cropped.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's not going to want to enlarge the way MO does. Maybe I should have given you the INAT version because this is on INAT also.
Mm.
But anyway, they it's a really interesting thing to find. Nobody knows what it is. So this is the second year in a row I found it in the exact same spot. And it's a really interesting species. So these are kind of like stocked cups, I guess not completely unlike Helvella, let's say. Different texture though. The texture on these is pretty soft. Helvella are pretty resilient mushrooms texture wise. These are soft. And that stipe is sort of bent and rebent, and it undulates kind of, and it goes into the substrate. It was the stipes were all buried in these raked leaves. So there's a cluster. There were like 4 of them clustered together. If you go to this observation on MO, in the notes, there's a whole bunch of links to the other ones that I found last year and previous to making this observation this year. And it looks like they're over. I went out into my yard earlier today, and I have left 2 of these in situ, and it looks like they're drying out. So that's probably going to be the end of these for this year.
Cool find.
Yeah, I remember I remember trying to figure these out with you last year and just no name made sense. So
no name makes sense. No, there's okay. So there's 2 species of Sowerbyella that look like these, but the spores are like almost twice as big. These spores top out at about 13 microns, and I think the other species are in the neighborhood of 20 microns long. The spores, maybe even longer, I forget. But there's like Rihanna or something, and then there's Imperialis, I think, are 2 of them.
Yeah, the one that starts with an R was the one.
Yeah, the one that starts with R. This looks an awful lot like that, but the spores on that one are a lot bigger.
And that's the one that's in a lot of the literature. I think
that's the one that's in all the field guides. So honestly, you know what I think? I think people are probably finding this thing. They're not doing micro. They're just looking in the book and they're saying, oh, it's this Rihanna thing. And so that's what they say it is. That's just a guess. I mean, why would I be the only one finding this? It just seems very odd, that this thing would show up in my yard and no place else. So that's my guess, is people are finding this, but they are misidentifying it as that one species that's in most of the field guides.
Well, you got to take it to the next level. Not everybody's going to do that. So,
well, I had these sequenced. Steve Russell sequenced them. I think it was Steve who did this species.
Yeah, it looks like it down here. All right, cool. It's 8:24, so I'm going to try to keep us moving because I know a couple other.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we don't want to dwindle on. Oh, this is the lichen Karen found at a BioBlitz over the weekend, and it's just really cool looking. I guess that's a photo either through the. So this
I think it's through the loop because it's like the same size as the photo you took.
Yeah, but it's also this was on a rock, wasn't it? So you didn't put that under your stereoscope.
Oh wait, which one is that?
The one it's called the Dusky Commerce.
Chrysothrix.
Go ahead. You go ahead and talk because you know this better than I do.
No, it's on a tree.
Oh, it's on a tree.
Actually, I don't know it better. This is my first attempt at identifying this, because I'm not very familiar with the crustose lichens, but I looked in James Lendemer's Urban Lichens book, and I stuck a name on it. I hope that's right.
It's pretty cool looking, though, I thought, and it's not a name that I had seen.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe Jason would be here and would have something to say about it.
Or Dorothy, either one. Actually, Virginia, You know a few lichens, don't you? Is Virginia still there?
I haven't looked at lichens for quite a while now since I switched
Okay.
to lime mold. I'm just looking at that picture. It doesn't look like anything I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of struck me as unusual. That's why I sent it in.
Mhm.
So it's an interesting observation.
Well, Jason's hosting on the 17th, so gonna ask him then. But yeah, it's interesting. Looks like it may be on a oak here, oak tree. But yeah, like painted white and those discs. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, little what are those, the apothecia?
Yeah, those
Apothecia.
just are the apothecia,
Yeah.
the spore bearing structures.
Mm-hmm.
And did we think this might be some kind of like Lechinora with something else going on in the bark?
I don't think it's a Lechinora. They usually have they'll have a little rim around each disc. It'll
Yeah.
be a different color. And they're raised up. This is like a really thin, the whole thing is just like a really thin, I mean, it looks like paint on the tree bark.
Yeah.
Not at all like Lechinora.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right. Thanks. So this was found at the BioBlitz. It was growing on a really large, dead, barkless tree. It's the button stage of Coprinopsis variegata. So when you see these, you might wonder, like, wow, how do you ID those as Coprinopsis variegata? Well, this was the next day after 2 inches of rain. 2 inches of rain fell the night between these two observations. This was the next day, and you can see they're expanding into mushrooms. And if you can zoom in on that, you'll see that universal veil is breaking apart into scales, and they're darkening, and it's starting to look like what Coprinopsis variegata should look like. There we go. So it's that universal veil is breaking apart into those little scales. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It's not a rare species or anything. It was just interesting to see it in the total button stage, and then the very next day, one step closer toward maturity. These are not mature. These will deliquesce eventually. These are an ink cap.
Yeah, they're not going to hang around too long.
Probably not, but these guys, these big robust ones, seem to take a little while.
That one that's leaned over on the right, you could see the striations a bit. It looks like.
Oh, okay. Started. Yeah, they're starting.
Maybe
to
the
show
rain
through.
washed some of the scales off. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
got a
some
very
of the veil
toasted
probably got
mallow
washed.
feel.
Nice. Go back and look at the buttons.
So the veil is pretty much intact, and it's just completely covered. It just looks like sort of like a glob. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the same fruiting, same exact fruiting.
Yeah, nice. All right.
So 2 years in a row now during the spring, May or maybe June, this thing showed up on my lawn, 2 different areas. The 2 areas on my lawn are really quite not all that close together. One area in the lawn is well, the 2 areas of lawn are maybe at least 60 feet apart, let's say. So this is an entoloma, so you might wonder, well, is it just one of these like typical Entoloma strictius or Entoloma vernum? Well, when I looked at the spores last year, I got a surprise, really. The spores look really unusual. They seem to be like sort of four-sided with curved sides, but that's only because I was really only seeing the spores in profile. They're actually kind of nodular, almost like Inocybe spores. And I think the spores are eventually coming. And you can see here, like some of these Strictius type Entelomas, the gills are virtually free. I mean, you look way down in there and it's hard to see any attachment, but apparently there probably is a very, very thin attachment way down in there. But anyway, I think the spores are coming because I'm pretty sure I shot some photos of the spores. And one of the photos is, I don't know if it's going to enlarge, which is kind of a bummer. I wish it would, because maybe that's the photo where you can kind of see that you can see a little bit of three-dimensionality and they look kind of nodular. But you can see there they call these spores star-shaped, and I think that's actually what is it, Conferendum? I think it
Conferendum.
Conferendum, yeah. I think part of that word derives from a Latin word that basically means star-like or star. So I don't. Michael Quebec had this Enteloma conferendum on their site a year ago, and now it's gone. They took it down. So that tells me that this thing's probably it's not the European. The Enteloma conferendum is European. This is something else. We don't know what it is. That's what the evidence points at right now, that it's just some undocumented Enteloma species. I've got nice collection preserved. We're going to try to get things sequenced in Pennsylvania this year. We have Sam from Philadelphia Club. She's got connections with the Philadelphia Museum of Natural History. We're going to try to get stuff stored in the herbarium there. And also she's applying for a grant to get a lot of sequencing done. So this one's definitely in the queue.
You said that was Sam Bucciarelli?
Sam, yep. Botticelli, or I forget how to say her last name. Boccarelli? Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks like a boring little Enteloma, like Enteloma strictius, kind of, but
is it kind of green? I feel like I'm picking up
maybe, you know what, maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit of like brownish green in there. Yeah. It's also, there's observations of this from last year as well that are on MO, and I think I put them on INAT as well, because it's sort of a new species. And so whenever I get something really good, I try to get it on both platforms.
Can you zoom on the spore? Excuse me.
Excuse me?
On the spore? Sure.
Can you zoom? Yeah, zoom on the spore.
Yeah, it's hard to do that on MO because it's cropped. But you might be able to see what you can do. Try that little rectangle up there in the upper right. Click on that. Let's see if we can get it to be a little bigger at least.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, you can see the little bit of three-dimensionality. Do you see what I mean? Like they look kind of like jacks or something. The
seeds.
Yeah, a little Inocybe like.
Yeah, but even at every profile for Entelomas, like you would classify these as cuboid Enteloma spores.
Cuboid Enteloma spores, right? There's a few other species that have cuboid spores. I think maybe some of those colorful ones, like that salmon colored one, I think that might have cuboid spores. I'd have to check. Or the yellow one, the unicorn Entelomas, I think they might have cuboid spores, but this is not really like those at all. At least macroscopically, it doesn't look like those.
But those are kind of outliers within Enteloma.
Yeah, they used to put them in a
Murray and quadratum, those cuboid type deals.
Yeah. They used to put them in a different genus for a while. I forget what it was called. So maybe this is related to those. I don't know. But it's probably just convergent evolution or whatever, that those species ended up with very similar spores.
The stipe is really cool on this mushroom too. It's like really twisted looking.
Yeah, it's like Entomoma strictius. It's a very similar kind of stipe.
Yeah, and I think the point I was trying to make with the spores is like Strictius, for example, at no profile are they going to look cuboid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, excuse me. I have to run.
Yep.
Karen's got a tick on her.
Oh, crap. All right. Well, you got one more. We'll circle back to you. All right. But yeah, that's a pretty cool picture there. And that stipe even looks a little yellow-green to me here. Interesting. All right. Let's see. Hunter.
Okay, I got 2 in INAB, 1 in mushroom observer, and then 2. That's not mine. Is that what came up?
Yep.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the
Let's
next
get
one.
another. Yeah. Okay. So this is Liophyllum, and I think I showed it last year from the same spot, and it grows trailside in a conifer area that I like to go to, and I did some microscopy, and the spores are really definitive. So it has I think a white spore print, and I'll show you'll see those. Yeah, so they're pretty much like globus completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that fits Liophyllum and probably that species. And so this is edible. Some people enjoy it, others really don't. I have not tried it, but it was fun to do a little microscopy and confirm that that's what it was. And
now, I definitely think that's a Liophyllum. Do you think it's Liophyllum decastes?
I'm not positive. That's what INAT said, and
Okay.
yeah, so, but no, I'm not positive at
The
all.
gills look just a little funny for that species. They're kind of widely spaced.
Okay.
But that's a species complex. Liophyllum decastes is a species complex, so there's probably variable morphology within the group.
Yeah, I mean, even
the
in
round spores is a good white spores, round spores.
Have you
Those
eaten
are 2 traits.
it? Have you eaten it?
Oh, a long time ago, I prepared it like fried chicken. I sort of coated it and deep fried it like you would make fried chicken.
Yeah.
With I think I forget what I used. Flour. Coated it with flour and fried it in oil, like deep fried it, and it kind of does remind you of like the skin on fried chicken. It gets crunchy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, it was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think it came
Yeah,
in
some
out.
people like it.
Are
Are we able to go to my other INAT
I don't even see a
observation
mark.
from this
Where
one?
was it?
right up here?
Oh, right there. I barely see a mark.
Yeah, he was still
Okay.
alive when he
The
Yeah.
other
Oh, sorry.
one.
Yeah, from that one. No, I mean like from, yeah, is there a way to go to my, like, Hunter up on the right?
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
Okay, yeah, because the one on the left, so, yeah, that one. So I think this is Typhrasa, and I,
Gossipina.
yeah, Glossopina, yeah, so, wrinkled Sapphirella. It sounds like you agree, but I'm not sure. So I also did a little microscopy on this, and one of the things the spores looked right. Although I didn't really, look at size at all. I just looked at shape. But there's supposed to be Pleurocystidia that are pretty interesting. And I was able to get them here. And I think that's Pleurocystidia. And I think that's what they're supposed to look like. But I'm not
Is it
sure.
just mounted in water?
Yeah, just water, distilled water.
Cool.
That's a
Yeah.
good picture, by the way.
Thank you. It's hard. I'm not very good at microscopy, but if I can get something, I'll try to share it. So, yeah, so it looks really, I mean, it's at first I was like, oh, it's a Lacrymaria, but I'm glad I looked a little deeper, and I think that I have the right ID.
Well, I've just looked on Mushroom Expert, and your picture of this Hymeneal cystidia looks exactly like what Mushroom Expert is saying are the Chylocystidia, actually, and the Pleurocystidium. They look the same. They look very much the same. Both kinds of cystidia on the gills, and that's pretty distinctive. And when you also throw in that these mushrooms certainly look like Typhrasa gossipina, then looks like you got it to me. And for anyone who's wondering if this used to be named something else, it used to be Sathorella delineata.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In fact, I think Mushroom Expert still calls it that.
And there's only like 4 species in the genus Typhrasa. It's really small.
Yeah, and the only one I know is this one. It's pretty common. A late spring mushroom for the most part. But you find it in fall also. I found it in fall last fall.
Cool.
So is it growing in the leaf litter? It looks like it's in the leaf litter.
Leaf litter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it grows in all kinds of forest litter. Sometimes on really, really rotten wood. Usually on the ground, though, that's where there's forest litter mixed in.
Okay. I got a couple more still too. So.
All right.
I heard, go on to the next one, but I heard Susan say thank you on the update from Sathra or Sathrella. Typhrasa is an anagram of Sathra, I think, which is kind of the precursor genus to Sathrella and all these things. That was the offshoot. So
that's cool to know.
Yeah. Okay, so my other ones aren't here. We have to go back to the email.
Okay.
And I've got a mushroom observer one. And yeah, Calipers ungulatus. I was really excited to find this because I think it is my favorite mushroom to eat. And I never find it. I mean, I've found it I can count on one hand, in my life of looking for mushrooms, how many times, and I still have room for more on one hand.
What kind of trees were in
that
the
was
area?
a weird thing because it basically it looked like it was growing terrestrial around very small trees, and then this dead piece of wood, it was kind of growing almost attached, but like just right out of the ground, almost connected to this. Yeah, so they're polypores, and what I like about them is their texture. When you cook them, they're really interesting texture, really, really good and mild flavor. But I learned some really interesting things about them. So they are on the red list in quite a few countries. And one of the reasons they may be so rare is that their sclerosias are sought after in Chinese medicine. So I guess a diuretic is made from the sclerotia. But if the sclerotia is harvested, I mean, that will have an effect on the population. So I found 3 or 4 clusters of these, and I left one, which I think is a good practice from what I've read. And that's it. And I never really had noticed the scales on the cap. It was quite scaly, and I guess I at first thought it was, there should be another picture, spored out, and that, I don't know, somehow it was like spores on the top, even though that isn't the spore bearing surface, but those are scales. And yeah, and so that was interesting to see. And I'm enjoying it. And you know, it was like, it looks like it might be like a little past its prime. This is the one I think I left, but it's sure tasting good. So
Where do you live?
so I live in northern Illinois. So this was a mixed woodland, conifers, and primarily oak and hickory, and then white pine.
Northern Illinois?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'll just say I've been looking at mushrooms for about 45 years. I've never found this myself. I've seen it live here in the Adirondacks because somebody locally had it growing in the exact same place out their back door for about 3 or 4 years in a row.
Oh, nice. I hope this comes back again. And
Yeah, that's what yeah, you should definitely check. At same time, and actually it was in June. One of the early.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, like just around the corner from this site is like one of the 2 other places I've ever found it. So I mean, it is around the corner though. It but very close by. So that was kind of interesting.
But you're lucky to have ever found it at all. Like I said, I've
agree.
never found it myself.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it is good. Yeah, well, thank you. And I was excited to share, and I didn't even put it on that because I just didn't want people to know where it was when I read how rare it was, you know. So
if it's truly listed as rare, it'll show you maybe the county on INAT, but it won't show you the exact location. It'll show you, but it won't show anybody who's looking at it. But I don't know if INAT has this as rare or not.
Yeah, right, in North America. It looks like it's not, I don't think, listed in except in like Manitoba, like up in Canada, in a couple places. I don't think it is for the US. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. So and the sclerotia, not all mushrooms depend on the sclerotia so much, but some do, morels do. And it provides nutrition to a developing mushroom. It's a mass of mycelium basically underground. So yeah.
Thank you for explaining. I had no idea.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I only, it's been like 30 years since I found this, and it was 2 years in a row in the same spot in a woods with a lot of beech and some oaks and maples. And it was in June. I haven't
Cool.
seen it since. That was
Well,
about 30 years ago.
yeah, it's a treat. I must say, I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really yummy.
Pretty rare to us, so glad you shared it.
Yeah, me too. And it's definitely rare to me too. I was pretty excited. Yeah. So yeah, maybe some more will come up. We're getting more rain, so I'll try to get back there and see. Yeah, and then I got oh yeah, a couple chicken. I got the yellow boar, and it was just pretty, so I thought I'd share Soleatiporus sulphureus, the yellow pored one, and then I've got the Cincinnatus as well, and I found that today, and it's just pretty too. And then this last picture, I grow shiitake and I do these cold soaks, and I have some like large kindling sized branches of a few other species of mushrooms, some Tremella fusiformis and also Helvella, in the hopes that I could do cold soaks on them, or that rain would bring those out. And so I did a cold soak on some of those large pieces, large kindling sized branches, and then this came out in between like a layer of bark and the wood. And if you zoom in, if you can zoom in anymore, I don't know, the bottom right looks like a little stem and cap. Yeah, like little stems and caps. Or they all kind of do. And so, but then when I went back to see it was sort of dry. It hasn't progressed at all, and it's not going to, because I guess it just dried out. But I know I've seen Mycena leiana come up in my shiitake yard on one of the logs. I thought maybe it could be that, but then I mean, at first I was thinking more along the lines of a crust like the
Radiolomyces?
no, the radiata,
No.
what,
Phlebbia.
yeah, like a
Yeah.
Flavia, but yeah, I really don't know what it is, and I can bring it under the microscope, and I can try to do that before next week. I mean, it is still there. It's just like kind of dried and flattened out now. It looks, I mean, it looks the same but different. Yeah. Any other thoughts on what it could be?
Has it grown out enough so that you can see the edge of the gills? And also, is it on conifer wood, or do you know?
No, I think it would be deciduous, probably oak. But yeah, most likely oak. And no, it didn't grow out. It just dried up and kind of laid flat between this sort of bark layer and the rest of the stick.
Mycena leiana, I think, only grows on conifer, but I have to review it every year. And the thing that's distinctive about it is the gill edges are a little bit redder. They have a definite they have a definite look to them that's unique, which is a very helpful character for identification.
Yeah, my Mycena leiana is almost always on beech.
Yeah, I see it on beech too.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We get it on oak here because we just don't have a lot of conifers, and we do have a lot of this mushroom. So yeah, I think maybe probably, I mean, I think it is wider spread, maybe.
Yeah, Maybe it likes a lot of different woods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. We have a lot of hemlock in the area where I usually find it. Now, maybe I should pay attention. Maybe I see it on hemlock sometimes, but almost always on beech, it seems. And they have the marginate gills as you had described. You know, the ones that I find. In fact, I just photographed some last week.
Yeah, so I'll see what I can do with what remains. I don't think anything's gonna happen to it. I mean, I could try soaking, well, it should get rained on. I'll look at it tomorrow. It is getting rained on,
Do
so.
you think that might be Mycena liana? Because if
Oh.
it is, it won't last long. Those don't persist very well.
Okay, no, I actually have no idea. There's a slight chance. That's all I thought it might be, because I had seen it in the shiitake yard last year a little, there was a little bit, and maybe that is what it is, so. But I will, I'll take a look tomorrow and see what's happening and keep you posted.
Cool.
Thanks for letting me share.
All right. Virginia.
Okay, this is an ascomycete. I picked it up because I thought it was a slime mold when I first looked at it, this decaying branch on the ground. But then when I picked it up and looked closer, I saw it was not. So I looked in, I had the Swiss book, and I found Lasiospheria ovina, which is fuzzy, and this is not really fuzzy at all. And I got on the microscope, the spores and so on. But I didn't do a really good job on this because recently when our 3-year-old granddaughter was coming, I child-proofed the house and put away all my razor blades and chemicals and oils and everything else. And I went to look today and I couldn't remember where I put them. So I didn't do a lot of good photos. Those are the spores. There's
Those are
probably
cool.
8 in an ascus. So I'm pretty sure it's Lasiospheria, but I don't know about the species because it's not fuzzy at all. So I don't know whether sometimes it isn't. That's just a smash, just to show that the inside was yellow, quite yellow. The dark is just the outer surface, and the inside was rather yellow. So I'll have to, if I find my things wherever I put them, do a better job on under the microscope.
The spores are really cool though.
They are. Yeah.
The shape of the asci is real cool. It's got a shape to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the picture I like the best with the.
That's the ascus right there.
Yeah, with the spores in the.
It's so narrow at the top, and then it widens out a bit, and they're all swirled in there.
Yeah, and this.
Yeah, but look at how they're.
The very tip, if you see that one pale spot, that seems to be unique at the very tip of the ascus.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, they all seem to have that.
I don't know the species. But I'm pretty sure it's Lasiospheria.
Wow.
Yeah, with that giant Q. Susan, what were you saying?
Well, I just like the shape of the spores in the ascus. I mean, look at they're kind of squashed together side by side. That's really cool. I've never seen that, I don't think, with spores.
Yeah, there's a word for that, because most of the time spores in an ascus of one of these larger ascomycetes are in a line. You know, they're like single file in the ascus. But there's a word for this that's a technical word when they're sort of bunched together like this and not in a single file.
Yeah, if you look to the right, the lower right corner, there's one that's less developed, and you can see how they line up.
Yeah, they're more orderly over here.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is really neat.
Very cool.
Great picture.
How big were the fruiting bodies?
Oh,
They look pretty small.
pretty small. Yeah. I mean, I thought from a distance till I looked close, I just thought they were like Fissurales. Till I looked closer and I could see the dark spot in the top of them. They were quite small, less than a quarter inch. I didn't measure them with a ruler. I should have.
And you were saying that they're not hairy, which contradicts something that you were looking at. They look kind of hairy.
They don't look furry. I mean, I was looking at some of the others.
What's all this stuff down here?
And they looked more furry. But I don't think these look furry.
They got some kind of hairs or something around them, right?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, they could be.
Or something growing on it.
Yeah.
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 But the ovina or ovina has what they call a tomentum on the outside of it.
Yeah. So
and
like
lighter.
like a clear leaf, like a fuzzy thing, tomentum.
Yes. So this is in New Jersey, Kingwood Township, the edge of my sister's yard. And that's the only thing I did find a bird's nest fungus. I didn't have time to look at that. I only had a few minutes to run out there and look before I had to go inside and help my sister with lunch. And then we left after lunch.
Oh, that's a pretty cool find. Underside of a log, it looks like.
Oh, it's not a log. It was just a branch
Branch.
about 3 inches thick.
Okay.
From a distance, it almost looked like, it could be a slime mold.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of them found in New Jersey of this genus.
Yeah, I don't, it's not one I'm familiar with.
Looks
That's all I
kind
have
of
today.
Euphoria. Nice.
Was it bluish like you're seeing there? Like I'm seeing here?
I couldn't hear. What was that?
The
Was
color?
Bluish? Blue? It looks blue here. Is it blue? Was it blue when you saw it? Looking?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing the question. I have trouble hearing.
What color was it? Is this the true color?
That's not too accurate. That's the one I took in the woods. It looks bluish, but it's not. They're white or maybe gray. Some of them are, you can see how pale they are. They're not bluish. Some of them are turning more grayish.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Dave had one more, I think. Was this your last one, Dave? Lose Dave? Dave and Karen?
Yeah, I think that's probably my last one. I'm going to hand it over to Karen. It's a lichen because I'm cooking something. I have to go attend to it. But anyway, Karen can tell you about this.
Beautiful lichen.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool.
Oh, where's this from? Oh, that's the Plasmadia. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is what they call a rag lichen. It's a fairly large, kind of crumpled looking, grows on branches up in the canopy, and so I find it typically after storms, after a storm has blown something down. I think this is what I forget the name. Plasmadia Tuckermanopsis or something like that. Did he
Yeah, I
put
saw
any-
the Tuckermanopsis before I opened it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see it very often, but Ricketts Glen is, it's old growth forest, so that's the kind of Tuckermanii. Yeah, that's the kind of place where you might find this.
Yeah, it's interesting. So no cilia on the edges.
No, this one does not have cilia. It has, if you look closely, I don't think it shows in the photo, but there'll be like this row of little black dots along the edge of each lobe.
Yeah, maybe here you can see some.
And those are called pycnidia.
Over here, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it was it's a fun one to find.
And the general, what did you call a ruffle lichen, or what was that? What did you say?
They call this a rag lichen.
Rag.
Like crumpled up like a rag.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of the common name as far as it has one.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's all that I need to say about that.
Cool. All right, Bianca, you have any update?
Well, I'm about to get home, so I'll tell you as soon as I was able to find a bag, a plastic bag that was dark in color to put it on while I was walking. And so I'm almost about to get home, so I'll report in a second on what it looks like.
All right. See if you got a real-time spore print. All right. Anyone else? Ken, Tristan, Emily, Shihong. Somebody must have found something. Somebody's been out. I know we're after 9, but we'll kill a couple more minutes to give Bianca a chance. Anybody have anything more?
I am sad to report I don't really see much of a spore print, even on this black bag.
All right. Well, can't always
Yeah, I
get
think
one
we
in a
can
half
try.
an hour, so.
Yeah, really. Thanks.
Can I just ask, is anybody registered for the NAMA foray in Vermont? Guess not. Wow. Okay.
Not yet.
Well, it's open
Dave,
and it
Dave
might
and I
sell
are
out
registered
fast.
for it.
Sorry?
Dave and I are registered for NAMA.
Okay. NEMF is about to open, but it hasn't quite yet.
Yeah, it was supposed to open on the 1st, but
Yeah.
some issue.
Well, I've been buzzing them about that because of the off-site housing for some of us.
Mhm.
And they're still fiddling around with details.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and before we end here, just actually let me stop the recording. Thank you everyone for joining.